also going to get a word with their AD carry for more on that series.
Thank you very much, Shox. I am joined by Rekkles here. So let's talk a little bit about Rift Rivals. You just won a series over Vitality, but I think the thing that's most on people's mind, Kennen, pretty consistently in Rift Rivals. Now you're pulling out the new AD carries in this series. What kind of prompted this change for you?
Well, Kennen got nerfed in 7.13, and Rift Rivals was the first official games we had on 7.13, so I was kind of just maybe stuck in like the old patch. I'm not sure. Like, we had really good scrim results, so I just thought maybe it's still fine, you know, like maybe the changes didn't affect it too much. But then at Rift Rivals, you could clearly see that it wasn't like working out. So in the past week, we've just been trying to like not necessarily change everything up, but try a lot of new stuff so that we're more versatile in the future when these kind of tournaments come around. Because if we're playing so many games back to back and we're not able to adapt, we will definitely like get punished against good teams.
We did see adaptation coming out today, so I'm curious, looking back at Rift Rivals, was it just the drafts and kind of being stuck in that single play style that was the biggest issue at Rift Rivals, or were there other issues for Fnatic as well?
I think definitely the draft was like a big problem, but I wouldn't say the biggest. I think NA's early game was like so much better than we've pretty much ever seen before. Like in EU, at least, there's nothing that comes close to it. So especially with the style we were playing, or the style we are playing, like we just have a really tough time dealing with these kind of early games. Like we just fall too far behind, and I never really get going on my split push AD carry thingy. And that's why we made some of the changes going into this week, because we just felt like if someone were to pull out this early game again and I don't get going, we don't really have any cards to fall back on. Meanwhile, now we maybe have more like, as I said before, like a versatile playstyle, so we're able to maybe fall back on like SOAS or Caps if something goes wrong on bot. And I have better scaling as well on something like Varus and Sivir, so for sure, like, we learned a lot from Rift Rivals, but it kind of sucked that it happened in such a fashion and that we kind of like lost all of our hype maybe with it. But like we'll definitely keep working the way we did before, and we'll try to win Europe same as we did before. Yeah.
Definitely on the path to building some of that hype back up with some pretty solid wins over Vitality today. Now, looking forward for Fnatic, improving some of those individual things, improving that flexibility looks good for you guys, but what are the immediate goals outside of kind of learning to deal with that aggressive early game that you saw from those North American teams?
Well, as I said, I think the biggest thing we're working on right now is that we're not so reliant on me doing my thing that I did before. And we're much more like able to adapt in the game as well, because some games like at Rift Rivals, they were just having so much jungle pressure on bot, and I wasn't able to like pressure the lane at all or do my Kennen things in the lane. So yeah, we just had nothing to fall back on, and now we've been trying to like be more like broad as a team and able to play around pretty much every lane, every player. And like maybe in Spring Split it didn't work out, but now I think it will, because everyone has improved so much and we're so much better now as a team. So like for sure it's going to be much better now. And as you could see here, like there were some good signs, especially in game one.
Yeah, definitely saw some fantastic plays across the team. Early aggression from North America seems to be a consistent thing that kind of trumped Europe out across Rift Rivals. How do you practice and prepare for that when it's the European teams that weren't able to match that aggression? Where do you find that practice here in EU? Is that something that teams are now looking to improve, or is that something that you have to find a way to kind of emulate?
I think it's hard to practice, but most of it is theoretical anyways. Like we just have to talk about jungle paths and how much pressure each lane has and what they can do with it, because at Rift Rivals we kind of got caught off guard. Like if you saw the first C9 game, like their support was just roaming mid at level 2 or something, killing Caps behind his tower, and like that's something we've never seen before. Like usually if the enemy team gets pressure bot or something, they just try to snowball it into a CS lead or tower damage. But in this case, they just didn't care at all about the laning phase and just started going towards mid. And yeah, like there were a lot of new things to learn, and as I said, we were just not adapting over the days. Like we were playing 3 days back to back, and we weren't able to adapt at all between the days. So it's kind of a shame, and maybe even a good learning experience, because Worlds is going to be a similar like schedule. So if we're able to learn that we need to adapt, maybe even like in the middle of the tournament, then that will be a good step towards Worlds if we make it.
Showing some of that week-to-week adaptation here, maybe day-to-day adaptation in the future when the world stage is present. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. That's going to do it for us here. We're going to send things back to Shox in the post-game model.
Sonic echo,